Welcome to Honey Bee, real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Damon. Some betrayals cut so deeply that they permanently change the way you see people. What my wife did to me and to our child was not a mistake. It was a conscious act of cruelty that would leave scars for years to come. And when she appeared again 10 years later, hoping to reclaim what she had walked away from, she never expected what I had waiting for her. Cassandra and I had been married for 2 years when she made the choice that shattered our family and altered all of our lives forever. 2 years that I thought were leading towards something lasting and meaningful. 2 years in which we welcomed our daughter, Gracie, into the world. In the beginning, our marriage held promise. But looking back, I now recognize the warning signs I chose to overlook. Cassandra had always been impulsive and self-centered, but I excused those traits as immaturity, assuming she would grow into the role of a wife and mother. Gracie's conception wasn't planned, but it wasn't unwelcome either. When Cassandra told me she was pregnant, I was overjoyed. I threw myself into preparing for fatherhood, reading everything I could, making plans, and getting ready for the responsibility of raising a child. Cassandra's response to pregnancy was less certain. She went through the motions of preparing, but she seemed detached, often talking about how trapped and overwhelmed she felt. I tried to be patient and supportive, believing it was just normal first-time parent anxiety. When Gracie was born, healthy and perfect, those early months felt hopeful. I adored my daughter from the very first moment, embracing fatherhood with all my energy. But Cassandra didn't adjust as well. Her struggles went beyond typical challenges. She grew resentful of the sacrifices motherhood required, and often complained about losing her freedom. She longed for her old life. I assumed she was dealing with postpartum depression or the stress of new motherhood. I tried to help, taking on more responsibilities, encouraging her to take breaks, and suggesting counseling. But instead of trying to cope, Cassandra drifted further away from both Gracie and me. She began disappearing for hours without explanation, insisting she needed space. Her behavior became more erratic. What I didn't realize was that Cassandra had reconnected with Garrett, the ex-boyfriend she swore was out of her life. He had never stopped pursuing her, and she had never truly let go of him, even after marrying me. The truth revealed itself in the cruelest way imaginable. One morning, I kissed my wife and baby goodbye before heading to work, believing I'd return to my family that evening. But when I came home, I found a sight that would haunt me forever. On my office doorstep sat Gracie's car seat, my 6-month-old daughter crying inside, with a hastily packed diaper bag and a short note from Cassandra. The message was cold and blunt. She said she couldn't handle motherhood, that she was leaving with Garrett, and that she had never stopped loving him. She wrote that marrying me and starting a family had been a mistake she needed to fix. I scooped Gracie into my arms, heartbroken and furious beyond words. My wife hadn't just abandoned me. She had abandoned her helpless infant, leaving her alone like discarded baggage. In disbelief, I called Cassandra's parents, expecting them to be horrified. Instead, their reaction was even more chilling. They told me plainly that the child was my responsibility now, and that they wanted no part in it. In that moment, I understood where Cassandra's selfishness and cruelty came from. She had been raised in a household where children were seen as burdens, not blessings. It was then I realized I was completely alone. Cassandra vanished without a trace. Her parents washed their hands of us, and I was left to raise Gracie on my own. The challenges were overwhelming, arranging childcare, working full-time, and managing everything while processing the collapse of my marriage. But the greatest wound was emotional. The betrayal of knowing the woman I loved had abandoned both me and our baby so heartlessly. I hired a private investigator, hoping maybe Cassandra would come to her senses. But the truth was worse than I imagined. She had left the country with Garrett, funded by money she had secretly saved. Faced with reality, I filed for divorce. The process was complicated by her absence, but eventually finalized. The court granted me full legal and physical custody, recognizing that Cassandra had forfeited her parental rights. The years that followed were difficult, but also deeply fulfilling. Raising Gracie on my own required sacrifices, but she became the joy of my life. I gave her all the love and stability her mother had denied her. She grew into a bright, confident child, surrounded by care and support. I kept records of everything: medical files, school reports, photos, and milestones, partly for memories, but also because I had a feeling that someday I might need proof. And that instinct was right. When Gracie turned 10, everything we had built was threatened. Out of nowhere, I received legal papers. Cassandra was suing me for custody. She claimed I had kept them apart, that I had denied her access, and that she had only left temporarily to deal with personal issues. Her parents supported her, funding the lawsuit and testifying against me, pretending they had always wanted a relationship with their granddaughter. The truth was clear. Cassandra had spent the last decade overseas, married and divorced Garrett, and now, with him gone, was trying to rewrite history. She demanded joint custody, insisting Gracie needed her mother. The audacity infuriated me. The same woman who had dumped her baby on a doorstep now painted herself as a victim. But I was prepared. I hired the best family lawyer I could find. Armed with 10 years of meticulous documentation, I fought back. I had proof of Cassandra's abandonment, the original note she left, my attempts to contact her through her parents, her departure from the country, and her complete absence from Gracie's life. I had testimony from teachers, doctors, and community members who had witnessed my devotion. The contrast between my years of consistent care and Cassandra's total neglect was undeniable. Her excuses during deposition were weak and ever-changing. She blamed postpartum depression, claimed she always meant to return, and accused me of preventing contact. But when confronted with evidence, no calls, no letters, no support, nothing, her lies unraveled. Even her parents' testimony collapsed when reminded of their words years earlier. She's your burden now. Their sudden transformation into doting grandparents was transparently selfish. The court-appointed guardian interviewed Gracie, who was old enough to speak for herself. She had no memory of Cassandra and felt no connection to her. To Gracie, this so-called mother was a stranger. The trial was grueling, but the outcome was clear. The judge ruled that Cassandra had willingly abandoned her rights, that her motives were not in Gracie's best interests, and that awarding her custody or visitation would harm our daughter. Cassandra's parental rights were terminated permanently. She and her parents were ordered to cover my legal fees. For the first time in 10 years, I felt true closure. The court had confirmed what I already knew, that I had acted in Gracie's best interests every step of the way. Today, Gracie is thriving. She's a strong, happy teenager who knows she is loved. The woman who abandoned her had no claim to the extraordinary person she became. Cassandra and her parents, who once dismissed her as a burden, had to live with the consequences of their choices. Looking back, I see that Cassandra's cruelty gave me the chance to raise my daughter fully and completely. What she tried to throw away became the greatest gift of my life. And when she tried to return years later, she learned a hard truth. Some betrayals can never be undone, and some bonds are too strong to break. Gracie and I emerged stronger, united, and unshakable. The burden Cassandra's parents spoke became my greatest blessing, and no one who walked away ever had the right to claim her love again. If you were in my place, would you have done anything differently? Or would you have chosen the same path? Share your thoughts in the comments, and pass this story on to someone who might need it. Thank you for listening.